Hi quilters, this is Annette from needlepointers.com. I would like to show you a strip quilt I just completed. Since I had less than 2 weeks to make a quilt for a baby shower, I decided a strip quilt would be a quick, easy, and time-saving way to whip up a quilt top. This strip quilt pattern was inspired by a display at my local quilt shop. Do you want to know how to make a strip quilt? Continue watching this video and go to our website for a photo tutorial with step-to-step instructions. You will find a link in the video and also in the description section to our website. Let's get started. To make the quilt, you're going to need a feature fabric. Mine happens to be Disney Princesses, and then 3 other fabrics that correspond or coordinate with the feature fabric. I've also done a little chart on how I'm going to be laying out the fabrics. You'll see there's the feature fabric is going to be on the ends, short ones on the end, and in the middle it's going to be larger with other fabrics going across in stripes. Now on the pattern I have the finished sizes on the pattern, but I have cutting instructions here. Also, just for your information, I will have on our website, and there'll be a link to it, how much fabric you will need in order to make this quilt. I'm going to begin cutting, and I'll give you instructions on that. The first thing you need to do is to cut out your feature fabric. Now, on the pattern that I had made out, I really wanted the feature fabric at the top and the bottom to be 4 inches. But because of this design, I had to make it a little bit smaller. Otherwise, I would have been cutting into the heads of the Disney princesses. So once you've done that, you cut off the selvage and then measure the width of the material so you'll know what size to cut the rest of your material. So you then need to cut 4 pieces that are 2 inches by the width of the material, or the width that you had measured. You need to cut 4 pieces that are 3 inches by that measurement, and then you need to cut 2 pieces that are 6.5 inches by that width. Then it's time to start sewing the quilt together. Here you can see I have lined up the quilt the way the pieces will be sewn together. This is the top of the quilt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sections and I'm going to take them and put them together, take them to the sewing machine, and then sew them in the order that I want them. Okay, these are the first 2 strips, and so you need to sew this strip on the bottom of the first strip. Place the wrong sides together and align the strips with the raw edges, and you're going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now this happens to be a 1/4 inch foot, which makes it very helpful. So all I have to do is sew, line up the raw edge right with the edge of the foot, and then you begin to sew the strips together. Now I'm going to continue to sew, and after I sew this strip on, then I will be just sewing the next strip and the next strip until I have the whole top side of the quilt completed. Another thing maybe you noticed, I did not back stitch at the beginning. When you're making a quilt, you don't always have to back stitch because that will be covered up when you do the binding. I have finished sewing the top section of the quilt together. Now I have to sew the bottom section. I have the two sections finished, and now it's time to sew those sections, one to the top and one to the bottom, onto the middle section. Because of the direction of my print, I have to be very careful when I'm sewing this on to make sure that I sew it so it's going to be right side up. So I lined it up the way it's supposed to be, and now I know to put the wrong sides together right here, and I can begin to sew the middle section onto the top section. When I'm finished sewing the top section on, I then will sew the bottom on. I have the top completely pieced. It took me less than 3 hours to cut out the fabric, piece it together, and press the seams. Now it's time to make the quilt sandwich and then quilt it. After finishing the top, I could send the quilt out to be quilted, or I could quilt it myself. Since I needed to complete the quilt in a short amount of time, I decided to quilt it using the serpentine stitch. That's what you see right here. I am pleased on how quickly I was able to machine quilt this strip quilt, and I'm delighted with the way the quilting turned out. If you want to learn how to quilt using the serpentine stitch, we have a tutorial. A link to the tutorial will be in the description section, and also a card link in this video. Besides the serpentine stitch, there are other stitches that you could use. Stitch in the ditch, straight line quilting, meandering, quilting a design, or any combination of these quilting styles. To finish the quilt, you need to add a binding around the outside. I used a double fold binding strip. I sewed it to the front, and then I folded it over to the back and hand stitched it in place. However, to finish the quilt, you can use the method you prefer. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make a strip quilt. Please like, share, and comment. Subscribe to our channel and follow us on Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. To follow us, click the link in the video or in the description section. If you want more quilting tutorials and free quilting projects, visit our website, Needle Pointers.